Hello, everybody. This is Corsair Mac, president of the Illinois Mental Health Counselors Association. And today I am joined by a very special guest, Eve Brownstone. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too. It was great to see you at the ICA conference, and I'm glad that we're doing this interview together.
Good. Thank you for suggesting it. It's awesome.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. All right, let's go ahead and get into it because all your fans want to know, how did you become interested in counseling?
Well, it was kind of a process. In my younger days, in my teens and early 20s, I was really into acting. That was my thing. I was in acting classes. I went to UIC and took acting classes. And I studied psychology to become a better actress to help me get into characters. And it was in my college days that I learned about psychodrama, which is a kind of group technique that involves role play and helping people move into action and exploring choices that way and other ways of behavior and being. And kind of when I was ready to go to graduate school, I wanted to find a psychodrama master's program. I didn't find that, but I found an intermodal expressive arts therapies program at Lesley College. And that incorporates all the different arts into my tool bag, which has been a lot of fun over the years. So
Oh, wow.
it's that's kind of how it started, and I'll tell you a little story, which is kind of interesting. Right around that time, before I started graduate school, I had a dream about having a tour, having a screen test at a movie studio. So I really wanted to be an actress at that time, and I had my screen test, and then I toured around the movie studio. And when it was time to talk with the director, he said, "You aren't quite the type we're looking for." And I felt disappointed. But then I turned and I saw one of my professors there miraculously. And he said, "You're just the type we're looking for." And I knew then that I was on my right path. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy that professor was there,
I
right?
know. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I studied at Lesley College. It's world renowned. It's now known as Lesley University, and it's world renowned for expressive arts therapy studies. Yeah.
All right,
Very.
perfect. So speaking of Lesley University, right? So what schools then did you go to for your undergrad and your graduate degrees?
So I went to UIC, University of Illinois in Chicago, uh, back in the 80s and 90. I got my degree in 90, and I started at Lesley in 91 and got my master's in 93. So I've been doing this for quite a while. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So to piggyback off of that one, then, how long have you been doing therapy for?
Well, I ran my first group as a volunteer at Thresholds. I ran a psychodrama slash playback therapy group at Thresholds for like a year before I started graduate school. So I was 5 then. I'm in my 50s now. So I've been, yeah, but I really enjoyed that. And I knew that's something that I wanted to do more of. And when I left Lesley and moved back to Chicago, I started working on the south side of Chicago in Inglewood. I worked in foster care programs. I worked in community mental health. I worked in group therapy programs, my own private practice. I like, I definitely like the flexibility of having my own private practice
Mhm.
and autonomy.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, but circling back to something that you mentioned that I thought was really interesting. So you ran a psychodrama therapy group
Yeah.
with like an acting therapy group in it as well, or?
Well, so psychodrama, was developed in the 1920s by Jacob Moreno, and he developed this kind of group therapy where you don't just talk about your issues, you role play them, and you try out different ways of doing it differently. Or like, for instance, if something I do all the time with clients, even with individual clients, like if they're having some difficulty with their boss, I have them role play a conversation with their boss. Within a group setting, other people, other group participants can be participants in the action, can play different roles to help the protagonist, who's the main character. And it's a way of problem solving, trying out different things before you do it in the real world. So it's very creative and dynamic and very healing approach. So yeah.
All right, nice.
Yeah.
Well, I know I tried to do that once during a DBT group, but
Okay.
it didn't go over well. So I'm glad you had a lot more success than I did. So that's awesome. All right. So you mentioned how long you were doing therapy for. So then I know you talked about this a little bit, but what places did you work at starting off in your profession, and what did you learn as a result from working at those places?
Well, one of the first places I worked at was ECHO, Inglewood Community Health Organization. This was back in, I would say, 96 when I first moved to Chicago. And there I co-ran a 2-hour psychodrama group working with folks with comorbidity, like folks with severe mental health issues and addiction issues, and helping them to feel safe enough to explore their world, share their worlds. It was the first, well, it wasn't the first time I worked with folks with schizophrenia, but I really grew to really appreciate my clients' lives and what they've been through, and kind of how they're able to stabilize and like themselves more and that kind of thing. It's a tough life. It's a tough life to be dealing with severe mental health issues. And I really saw it as a gift and honor to be witness to these people's lives. That was kind of my first experience. And I guess a takeaway is we're all trying. We're all trying to do the best we can. And I think a good approach is just for all of us to be kinder to each other and ourselves. That's kind of my motto.
No, that's a good motto to have, right? Right.
Yeah.
So then, any other places that you worked at after that besides your
Um,
private practice?
well, I worked community mental health, community counseling centers of Chicago for 6 years in Uptown and in Edgewater, and ran a lot of groups, worked with a lot of individuals. I ran an anger management group for 6 years at 2 different buildings, and just really explored and help people feel their feelings in safe, constructive ways. So no feeling is bad. It's just, how do you express it? How can it be helpful for you? You know, more helpful to express it than not.
Right.
So,
All
yeah.
right. Perfect. No, sounds like you have a vast, well, a vast amount of knowledge and information. I was trying to be
Yeah,
fancy, but that didn't really work.
that's okay. Yeah, and also Urban Balance and some other folks, some other places that I enjoyed Urban Balance a lot because they strive to help people find a balance between work, which we pretty much all have to do, and personal life. So finding a way to make time for all of it, which I really appreciated.
Right. No, that's
Yeah.
great. So then I know you worked at a lot of these different places. But then something probably told you, hey, it's probably time I need to start my own private practice. So, what was that process that led you to wanting to start your own private practice?
Well, I started my own private practice at different times of my life. But this last time really had to do with COVID and
Okay.
working from home. And I decided, why not just primarily do the private practice again, since I was already doing a lot of telehealth. It made sense for me to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then I know you mentioned you did it at a lot of different points. Does that mean that you started, then you stopped, or you put it on pause and you started again?
Yeah, yeah. And another lifetime ago, I did private practice. I ran a twin support group in the Boston area when I was in grad school or after grad school. So I did that for 4 years and I focused on twin psychology and co-ran a weekly twin support group and actually got to be on a couple of talk shows talking about twin psychology.
Oh,
That
wow.
was a lot of fun. I'm a twin, so
Oh,
it's a
okay.
personal thing. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, if you don't mind me asking, I know this is a little segue question, but what talk shows were you on?
They don't exist anymore, but that's okay. It was the Charles Perez show out of New York and the Danny Bonaducci show out of Chicago. And um, both places flew my twin to be with me on the show. So my twin is also a psychotherapist. She's a social worker.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I bet she was very appreciative of that. It's like, I get to be on TV.
It was fun. It was kind of like when one of the shows, the twins were actually best friends, but they were had to act like they hated each other. And one of them, like the premise was, "You stole my identity, and I want it back." It was kind of goofy, and I was the one who had to kind of give some advice about twins' identity and that kind of thing.
All right, nice. Wow. Well, you heard it here, folks. She was on TV, so look for those episodes.
Uh, it was another lifetime ago, but it was fun. It was
Mhm.
very fun.
Well, so then going back then to the whole private practice thing, a lot of people believe that, you start your private practice and you just keep going all the way until you're done. But you had a different experience of where you started and you stopped, you started, you stopped, you started, and you stopped, and things like that.
Mhm.
So then, what were some hurdles in regards to you starting your private practice? Were there some specific things that you had to overcome, or is there some things that they're like, no one told me I had to do this, right? Type of thing.
Yeah, well, in graduate school, in counseling programs, people don't say that you need to be good at marketing and business, and so you're wearing multiple hats.
Mhm.
And so having to learn over time how to manage, how to do the marketing, how to do the business side, how to do the therapy, so all that stuff. And so learning how to do that is just kind of a learning experience. And you just get to know what to do and get better at it over time with practice. Um, I know that when I was in private practice at one point, I joined a group practice for a while because I wanted to work with other people because I was feeling like a little isolated and wanted to just join with other people, and that was helpful.
All
That
right.
was enjoyable.
Yeah, that's good. Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
So
don't know if
then,
that makes sense.
oh no, well, at least it made sense to me, right? I
Okay,
don't know about you, but it made
good.
sense to me. All right. So then, is there any advice you would give someone that's looking to start their own private practice?
I would say network, learn how to do the things that you feel like that are challenging, ask for help. Like there are people out there who know things that maybe you don't know, but who can share that knowledge. Get involved with your organization like IMHCA or ICA. Um, and self-care is so important. We're still going through a pandemic. I don't want to get political here, but this is just reality. We're still going through a pandemic, and we just need to also practice a lot of good self-care. And if we are having difficulties, we also need to reach out for more support.
Oh yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
100% agree with that. All right. So then currently in your private practice, are there any projects or anything that you're working on that you would want people to know about?
Yes. Friday, January 13th, which is in the new year, 2023, on a Friday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'm doing a workshop called Opening New Doors, and we're looking for participants. It's all about looking at change and making choices in this new year, closing old doors, opening new ones, using the metaphor of a door to do that in creative ways. And I'm really looking forward to it. As you can see, also, I really love painting. I'm working on a book about my experience of painting during the pandemic. I painted over 100 paintings during 2020 to 2022. They were my medicine and my companions. Um, I call it art under Corona.
Oh,
It's
nice.
just a very heartfelt project.
Hmm. All right,
Yeah.
perfect. Is there any other projects that you're working on, or are those just it?
Um, I'm always working on something. I think as a creative expressive arts therapist, it's not just a job, it's a lifelong process, it's a lifelong adventure. And that's kind of how I see it. And yeah, so I'm
All right.
always painting, writing something, and wanting to bring people together for fun healing experiences.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right. So I know I put this question a little bit lower, but since you brought up the artwork, I have to ask, I know you mentioned you've painted over 100 pieces of art during the pandemic, and
Yeah.
that was your medicine. So what was
Hmm.
that process like? How was that therapeutic and healing for you?
Well, during that time, a lot of the time I was on my own for at least the first year. And so painting was an outlet. During lockdown, I would look out the window and see other people in their windows and on the streets sometimes. But the paintings on this, uh, over here, on this, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the blue
Some of
one
the
with the
paintings
circles.
behind me,
Yeah.
some of the paintings behind me reflect my view from my window.
Oh,
So it looks kind of like buildings or streets. And so some of my paintings look like that. Some of them have to, like one I painted is a celebration because when we got the vaccine, it was a time to celebrate. Um, another one I did was for George Floyd. Um, you can't see it here. You can see the corner, the blue corner over
okay.
there. It's a big one of that kind of looks a little bit like George Floyd, and it's an ode to him, um, and Black Lives Matter.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. I mean, if you want, you could turn your camera over so we could see it, or if they're comfortable with that.
Um, let's see. Uh, sure. Maybe
Oh, yeah,
this
there you go. Perfect.
there.
Yeah.
That's George Floyd. So it's a bigger piece, and it just kind of looks like him, and it brings in lots of different people, lots of color and energy of people and a movement, and and love.
Yeah.
So it's all
No,
of that.
it's a really great piece. Thank you for showing that to us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Mhm.
Again, it comes from my heart. I think being a therapist, we don't do it for the money. We do it because I feel like it's a calling for me.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. So then do you do art therapy in your practice also, or is that just,
I
oh, you,
do. I do art therapy, some movement, some mindfulness. I've started getting into polyvagal theory
oh,
and using the vagus nerve, and different ways of calming our nervous system. So I use mind, body, spirit connection. One really quick thing to do when you're stressing out is put a bag of peas on your chest
oh, really?
or put your hands under cool water. That helps. Uh, Changing your body temperature even slightly helps in that moment.
Okay, well, that's the first I've heard of putting a bag.
The
You
bag of peas.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, I always hear you put like a bag of frozen peas, like when you strain like a muscle or where you pull something. But yeah, this is the first time I heard, yeah, just put it over your heart. So
Yeah.
I might have to
Yeah.
try that. So that's cool.
Okay. Good.
All right. So
Yeah.
everybody at home, you heard it first. Put a bag of peas over your heart. All right, perfect. All
Yeah.
right. So since you've given us such a wealth of knowledge and information already, I always want to ask this just to make sure. So, is there anything that you would like to tell people that are either starting out in the field or who have currently been in the field for a while?
Um, I guess take good care of yourselves. Practice a lot of self-care. Find a supervision, find a consultation group, find people who you can work with, who know the skills that you want to know. Be a part of IMHCA or ICA. Uh, it takes a village. It takes a village to
Yeah.
raise a therapist.
Yeah. And that is
Yeah,
so true. A lot of people really just apply that to kids, but no, we all always need a lot of different support, connections, just like what you mentioned, getting involved and help. There's nothing wrong with seeking out, asking for it, and reaching out for it.
definitely.
Mhm.
Right.
All right. So then, before we get to the most important question, the second most important question. Right. So, is there anything you would like to say that I haven't had a chance to ask you about during this interview?
Hmm. Um, I am accepting new clients. I'm available for therapy, uh, primarily through telehealth. Right now, I do take insurance and I'm welcoming new clients. Um,
All right.
and people can reach me at Brownstone Therapeutics at gmail.com. Let me just my last name, Brownstone, and then THERAPEUTICS at gmail.com.
All right. Perfect. Well, that was the most important question. Where can people find and reach you at? So, perfect
Okay.
right there. All right. So, then also, I guess another thing I should ask as well, are you accepting or are you hiring people, or is it just a solo private practice?
Right now, it's a solo practice, but in the future, I might be hiring. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Well,
Yes.
you heard it here, folks. Keep an eye out in the future because she will be hiring so that we can get your creative juices out there and ready to help out other clients, right? Yep, exactly.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much for coming and talking with us. We have to have you back for part two because now I'm learning a lot of new stuff. First, peas over your heart, getting more into the artistic side of therapy and all that fun stuff. So, yeah, we'll definitely have to have you back to flesh out more of that.
Fabulous. Anytime.
All right, perfect. All right. Other than that, that is about it for this interview. All right. Again, thank you much for Embarrassing. Thank you very much, E, for coming and talking to me.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, no problem. Other than that, this is Corsair Mac, president of the Illinois Mental Health Counselors Association, signing out, and I'll see you at the next interview. Take care.